Today is February the 7th. Today we see the bold leper. Let's go straight to Mark chapter 1, verses 40 to 45. A man with a skin disease came to Jesus begging him, and kneeling, he said to him, "If you're willing, you can make me clean." Moved with pity, Jesus stretched out his hand and touched him and said to him, "I'm willing. Be made clean." And immediately the skin disease left him. He was made clean. After sternly warning him, he sent him away at once, saying to him, "See that you say nothing to anyone, but go, show yourself to the priest, and offer for your cleansing what Moses commanded as a testimony to them." But the man went out, and he began to proclaim it freely and to spread the word, so that Jesus could no longer go into a town openly, but stayed out in the country, and people came to him from every quarter. Now, obviously, there is so much more at play here than we would be able to see with our 21st century eyes. Today, a person who has leprosy or an extremely contagious skin disease might be in quarantine and isolation. In Jesus' day, there were two possibilities. They could move to a town of lepers, people with skin diseases, and live in that town for the rest of their life. This man chose not to do that. He stayed near the city. In doing that, he could no longer carry on a profession like you could if you moved to the town of lepers. Instead, he was contingent. He depended totally on people's benevolence. We don't know why he did that. Personally, I suspect it was because he wanted to stay near the people that he loved. By doing that, he would have to call out, "Unclean, unclean," anytime a person came within a certain range of him, so that they would understand that he has a skin disease and the person shouldn't approach him. This man came to Jesus, fell before him, and said, "If you would, you can cleanse me." And I'm sure as he did that, he was shouting "unclean" so that the crowd would stay away from him. Jesus approached him and touched him, something that you would never, ever do. But as Jesus touched him, he healed him. Now Jesus says, "Go to the priests and give them what Moses commanded you." We see what Moses commanded in Leviticus chapter 14. Let's read Leviticus 14.
Leviticus 14, 1 through 32, New Revised Standard Version. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "This shall be the rule for the person with a defiling skin disease at the time of his cleansing. He shall be brought to the priest. The priest shall go out of the camp, and the priest shall make an examination. If the disease is healed in the defiled person, the priest shall command that 2 living, clean birds and cedar wood and crimson yarn be brought for the one who is to be cleansed. The priest shall command that one of the birds be slaughtered over fresh water in a clay vessel. He shall take the living bird with the cedar wood and the crimson yarn and the hyssop, and dip them and the living bird in the blood of the bird that was slaughtered over the fresh water. He shall sprinkle it 7 times upon the one who is to be cleansed of the defiling disease. Then he shall pronounce him clean, and he shall let the living bird go into the open field. The one who is to be cleansed shall wash his clothes and shave off all his hair and bathe himself in water, and he shall be clean. After that he shall come into the camp, but shall live outside his tent 7 days. On the 7th day he shall shave all his hair. Of head, beard, eyebrows, he shall shave all his hair. Then he shall wash his clothes and bathe his body in water, and he shall be clean. On the 8th day he shall take 2 male lambs without blemish, and 1 ewe lamb in its first year without blemish. and a grain offering of 3/10 of an ephah of choice flour mixed with oil, and 1 log of oil. The priest who cleanses shall set the person to be cleansed along with these things before the Lord at the entrance of the tent of meeting. The priest shall take one of the lambs and offer it as a guilt offering, along with the log of oil, and raise them as an elevation offering before the Lord. He shall slaughter the lamb in the place where the purification offering and the burnt offering are slaughtered in the holy place, for the guilt offering, like the purification offering, belonging to the priest. It is most holy. The priest shall take some of the blood of the guilt offering and put it on the lobe of the right ear of the one to be cleansed, and on the thumb of the right hand, and on the big toe of the right foot. The priest shall take some of the log of oil and pour it into the palm of his own left hand, and dip his right finger in the oil that is in his left hand, and sprinkle some oil with his finger 7 times before the Lord. Some of the oil that remains in his hand the priest shall put on the lobe of the right ear of the one to be cleansed, and on the thumb of the right hand, and on the big toe of the right foot, on top of the blood of guilt offering. The rest of the oil that is in the priest's hand shall be put on the head of the one to be cleansed. Then the priest shall make atonement on his behalf before the Lord. The priest shall offer the purification offering to make announcement for the one to be cleansed from his uncleanliness. Afterward he shall slaughter the burnt offering, and the priest shall offer the burnt offering and the grain offering on the altar. Thus the priest shall make atonement on his behalf, and he shall be clean. But if he is poor and cannot afford so much, he shall take 1 male lamb for a guilt offering to be elevated, to make atonement on his behalf, and 1/10 of choice flour mixed with oil for a grain offering in a log of oil. Also 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons, such as he can afford, one for a purification offering and the other for a burnt offering. On the 8th day he shall bring them for his cleansing to the priest, to the entrance of the tent of meeting before the Lord. And the priest shall take the lamb of the guilt offering and a log of oil, and the priest shall raise them as an elevation offering before the Lord. The priest shall slaughter the lamb of the guilt offering, and take some of the blood of the guilt offering, and put it on the lobe of the right ear of the one to be cleansed, and on the thumb of the right hand, and on the big toe of the right foot. The priest shall pour some of the oil into the palm of his own left hand, and shall sprinkle with his right finger some of the oil that is in his left hand 7 times before the Lord. The priest shall put some of the oil that is in his hand on the lobe of the right ear of the one to be cleansed, and on the thumb of the right hand, and the big toe of the right foot, where the blood of the guilt offering was placed. The rest of the oil that is in the priest's hand he shall put on the head of the one to be cleansed, to make atonement on his behalf before the Lord. And he shall offer of the turtle doves or pigeons, such as he can afford, one for a purification offering and the other for a burnt offering, along with the grain offering. And the priest shall make atonement before the Lord on behalf of the one being cleansed. This is the rule for the one who has a defiling disease, who cannot afford the offering for his cleansing.
So the question comes, why this story? Why at this point? Well, we have the healing that is important. We also have the man's isolation. Jesus comes to bring us back into a community. And then finally, it's what Jesus tells the man. Show yourself to the priest as a testimony to them. The healing, the inclusion in the community, and the testimony are the reasons why this man was healed. So what do we do today? Well, who in your sphere of influence is isolated? They might not have an leprosy, but who's marginalized? Reach out to them today. Scripture reading from the New Revised Standard Version by Emily Herrera. If you like what you heard today, share it with your friends.